Good Easter afternoon. It's wonderful to be with you. This is Reverend Pam Geagan from the Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley. Welcome as we rise up together. Good Easter Sunday, everybody. I'm Reverend Lynn Chaplain-Noy from the Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley in beautiful California. And it's a beautiful, beautiful Easter day. And we have a great service for you. Of course, we have our Reverend Pamella Geagan, our spiritual leader, and Betty Ann Brennan. Reverend Betty Ann is back with us. And Reverend Pamella is going to be speaking with Dr. Sue Rubin today. We have Pamela Bailey, our lead practitioner, Buzz Noe with the buzz, and Daniel Berkman is our musical inspiration. It's going to be a wonderful morning, and we're so happy to have you with us. Our vision is awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And the way we do that is teaching and demonstrating spiritual principles for living an abundant and fulfilling life in a welcoming, compassionate community. And these are our flames of faith. We believe there is one power and that there are many paths to that source and that power. By lighting the flames of faith, we honor all religions, Buddhism, Sufism, Hinduism, Judaism, Sufism, and all others that step forward in love. There is that one fine thread that connects us all, and that fine thread is love. We are love, we come from love, and we honor our oneness in us all. And now it's my pleasure, as it always is, to introduce Reverend Betty Ann Brennan with our quote for the day.
Good afternoon. Here are some words for you to take with you today and throughout the week. I travel my own unique path, but never alone, for Spirit is always with me. And in the light of that, let me continue with the treatment. This is in the first person, so accept it as your own. I recognize that there is this one power, this spirit, this identity, this energy flowing through me and through the entire universe, always wherever I am. I just travel and never fear because all is laid out before me. And so I know right now this infinite power of possibilities is moving heaven and earth for me in the expression of self, in the love of everyone, in moving ideas back and forth and energies and making it all just so fantastic. I accept this for myself. I accept this for the world, as it reveals the truth of the being, that we are all one, experiencing life, always with Spirit as the center focal point. And so I know today that I am loved and loved. I am blessed. I am one with this Spirit. I give great thanks for this energy, for this tribute, and for knowing that what follows me is absolute perfection. So I just allow these words to seep into the creative areas of this great Spirit and fulfill my every joy. And to conclude, please join me in, and so it is. And knowing that, I'd like to introduce our senior pastor, Reverend Pam Geagan. Take it away.
Thank you, Betty Ann, so much. And I just want to say welcome home after your 66th wedding honeymoon. I thought that was great from Montana, and you look great, and it's great to see you and hear you and be with you again. And now I'm going to introduce on this wonderful Sunday morning, Daniel Namod with his music, Last Song. And it is so perfect about, as we look at the history of Easter, from love and law to the resurrection from the death, the transition from the death to resurrection. Please enjoy.
If this is my last song, if this is my final day, if tomorrow I'll be gone, what do I want to say? If this is my last song, if it's my time to go, when my body's moved on, what will I have to show? No, not fortune or fame, they scatter to the wind. The things that make a name just don't matter in the end. But is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and sky a little more blue? Is humankind a little bit wiser about the good that we can do? Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before there was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. If these are my last words for all of the earth to hear, if all that I have ever been is about to disappear, if these are my last words, there's nothing that I need to say. I have only tried to serve. It's never been about talking anyway. So much hurt there is to heal, it's hard to understand. All I can hope to feel is that I am doing what I can. Is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and sky a little more blue? Is humankind a little bit wiser about the good that we can do? Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before there was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. Have I given hope to the hopeless? Has a hungry soul been fed? Has a child stood a little bit taller 'cause of something that I said? Have I left a little kindness? Have I eased a little pain? If so, then I'm glad I came. For that, I'm so glad I came. If this is my last song, what do I leave behind? What do I pass on if I am out of time?
Oh, thank you, Daniel Namod from afar from YouTube. And now it's my honor to introduce What's the Buzz with our poet laureate, Buzz Noe.
Thank you very much, Reverend Pam, and happy to be here for the announcements for this week. And today is the global celebration of Easter, with many special meals to make it a real feaster. We pay tribute this day to the resurrection of Jesus, who came back from the dead to serve and to please us. The lessons he shares provides the blessings we seek, and here are the announcements for this week. At 9 a.m. weekdays on Facebook Live, Reverend Pam's morning meditations will allow you to thrive. This week's theme is Happy for Now Reason. It will add peace and love to your wonderful spring season. At 7 p.m. Thursdays, also on Facebook Live, our midweek spiritual uplift will help boost your divine drive. Our lead practitioner, Pamella Bailey, will host this session. Bring Brilliance is the title for her uplifting lesson. At 10 a.m. on April 25th, the fourth Sunday of the month, Lisa Coffey will be back with a lesson you will want. Swami S. is this month's special guest. His words and wisdom will make you feel blessed. So please join in with Lisa prior to the Sunday lesson. Constant Contact has a link info for you to attend this session. And today marks the end of an event we can still cheer, the season of nonviolence, which began right here. Today is the last of its 64 days in which we change the world by using peaceful ways. So please keep love and peace in your mind intact, and you will continue to make a positive impact. Also, do keep in mind that our center is always here for you, so please let us know what we can do. The spiritual treatment that we provide will lessen your stress and allow you to thrive. You can call and leave a request by the phone, or you can send us an email from wherever you roam. We trust someday we can soon meet again live, but until then, our center will help us to thrive. So please do donate to keep our center going, so we can be here to keep your wellness flowing. 2 other places where you can lend a hand, please do give them whatever you can. Ventura County Rescue Mission provides the homeless with much good, and Ventura County Food Share feeds the needy in our hood. A reminder that our center is part of Ralph's Community Contribution Program. A portion of whatever you spend at the store gives our center a small donation or more. So please do sign up or simply renew, and Ralph's will contribute at no cost to you. Our center's code number is JE859. You can sign up at the store or do it online. Another way to help our center for a while is to shop online using Amazon Smile. When you complete your purchase for the items you got, it donates to our center right on the spot. And finally, one way to make Easter very funny is to go find yourself a real Easter bunny. And that's it for the announcements. But please do stay tuned in. Our practitioner of the day will be the next to begin. Her loving words will make this day a win. And so here is my lovely and loving wife, Lynn.
Thank you, Buzz. As soon as we're done here, I've got to go into the kitchen to make my Easter feaster. Very good, very good poem. Thank you, everybody. And today is Easter, and the theme for today and the discussion with Dr. Sue and Reverend Pam is a matter of life and death. And so this is Easter. And so for this practitioner moment, I've chosen to talk briefly on the subject of crucifixion and resurrection. And briefly is not exactly something that one would associate with all of that. Joseph Campbell, regarding Easter and Passover, has a wonderful understanding of the cross and the human and divine participation in our journey to our and through our eternal now. So here's a quote from Campbell. So that he, God, is here within us, not by the way of a fall or a mistake, but with rapture and joy. Thus the cross has a dual sense, one our going to the divine, and the other of the divine coming to us. It's a true crossing And that's Joseph Campbell. I love that. And I love that our human participation is truly our God as me journey to our own transfiguration, our own divine eternal now into our infinite spiritual state. I'm here to show God a good time. Where have we heard that? That's Rev Pam's favorite quote. And I love it. I'm here to show God a good time. So God is me. You know, we go through our journey and we need to remember always that that divine is expressing through and by means of each of us. And when we think of the crucifixion, I think the tendency is to think of calamity, which might cause us to look for someone or something to blame. But Jesus knew exactly what he was doing. He even forgave his tormentors. And our lives, when we choose our spiritual practice, are our own creation and our own choice, and there's no one to blame. We're admonished to take responsibility for our activities and our spiritual journey by practicing generosity and kindness and love and humility and forgiveness in particular. Stuff's going to happen. That's life. What are you going to do with it? And that's your particular journey and your path. When my teacher was ready to make his transition, I felt it. I instinctively knew that this was happening. And I drove to Vegas to be by his side. With Buzz and I went together. He had chosen for himself a path less traveled, his unique life, a life of practicing divine principle. And he lived it and he taught it and he loved it and he relished in the good and the bad. He relished in its allness, because it wasn't a big Hallmark card life for him, but it was his wonderful choice. He understood the way to resurrection, and living his eternal now would have challenges. So all that time, we were there for the morning that he transitioned. We were with him. And a couple of hours before he transitioned, we had to drive back home. And he said two things to me. He said, number one, holding up one of his elegant fingers, he said, God is all there is. And the last thing he said to me was, this is beautiful. I thought his timing was pretty elegant. So have you chosen a path less traveled for yourself? One of generosity and humility and forgiveness and love? And don't forget rapture and joy. Will there be the appearance of calamity in your life? Probably gonna be. So do your spiritual practice. Do that. Joseph Campbell says, no crucifixion, no resurrection, no mud, no lotus, period. That's it. Life's gonna happen and we're making our choices every time. So Ernest Holmes says, I know that limitation and fear do not exist in God's kingdom. Light of the Spirit within me dissolves every obstruction in my path. Everything unlike the perfect nature disappears. My entire thought, will, and imagination are saturated with the divine presence, which forever proclaims, behold, I make all things new. And that's what my teacher's life was about, was correcting everything and seeing and redefining everything in his life as this great, great, new, glorious miracle. So before Daniel inspires us with this music, let's have a brief treatment. Let's close our eyes, please. And go immediately to that kingdom within, where we know with certainty, and I say this in the I am, I know with certainty that I am one with this divine source of love and generosity and humility and forgiveness, beauty, creativity. I am the divine individualized expression of all that God is. Therefore, I see each day as a beginning to express life as my divine path, my singular path that I have chosen. And within this path, there is my spiritual practice and loving those whom I love and loving those who may have the appearance of not even loving me. I don't care. I am love and I am loved. I'm so grateful for these loving truths. As I release them now into divine mind, I allow divine mind, God, to take care of the details while I enjoy this beautiful, exquisite, expressive path that I have chosen. And together we say, and so it is. And so it is my pleasure to introduce Daniel Berkman.
Thank you, Mom. That was lovely. Always great to be here. Thank you so much. I'd like to play a piece of music written by my favorite composer, who is probably the biggest fan of Jesus ever, Johann Sebastian Bach. This is called Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring, which I have transcribed for the Chora.
Danny, that was magnificent. Thank you so much. It was so perfect. Thank you. And just thank you for all the prayers this morning and everyone on. And I love where there is no mud, there is no lotus. And because I believe that in this destination we all share, death is the destination that we absolutely all share, and no one has ever escaped it. And that is, it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It's a life-changing agent. It clears out the old, makes way for the new. And so our time is limited. And so let's not waste it, as I say. And from that history of the spirituality on this planet, in that oneness, from the pagans all the way up to what we have today in all the different denominations, love and law was the rule. And it's my honor to introduce Dr. Sue Rubin, who's going to talk to us about that law and love and how it developed and how Jesus carried more or less the torch onward and upward, as we all do in our incarnations.
Thank you, Rev Pam, and happy Easter and happy Passover, everyone, because tonight is also the last night of Passover. And so that brought me to thinking about the connection through the ages of connecting those dots from which Moses, who carried the Jewish people out of bondage, not literally on her shoulders, but more mentally and emotionally, supporting them to come out of bondage from Pharaoh's Egypt and into freedom. And then from that point on, the 10 Commandments were brought down to the people. So it started me thinking about the whole cycle. Life is death, and death is life. There is no separation. And if we particularly, I think in the Western world, continue to fight and resist that divine premise and that living truth, we rob ourselves of life as much as we fear death, and we fear death to the degree that we rob ourselves of living fully in each moment. So Moses was a guy who was based on logic and law and intellect, and taking care, first of all, of the physical need to remove his people from living in a physical as well as a mental and emotional and spiritual state of bondage under someone who believed differently and had a different idea in mind, which was to keep the Hebrew nation enslaved, to have them in his power. And I think that's the start of the concept of dying to that idea that we need to be enslaved by our emotions, by our fears, by the conditions in the world, which we've all been living through this past year, and continue to exercise prudence and care for ourselves and each other as we go forth with the blessing of having the vaccine, and yet not thinking anything external is going to solve the problem. So Moses, once having freed the people, and then Joshua taking them into the promised land, there was now the opportunity to bring them a sense of law, how to live by cause and effect, that our inner world becomes our outer world, and our outer world reflects our inner world. And as we pass over from fear to faith, from a new idea that originates with ideas themselves, and yet we discover something that removes us from being in bondage and allows us to see the infinite potential that we are. And so they were provided with the nation that we're still provided with, is how to live life from the inside out, how to abide by all the things that Reverend Lynn was talking about: decency and love and compassion and forgiveness and kindness and generosity of spirit, and to dive to its seeming opposite, its contrasting fear and anxiety and apprehension and divisiveness and all the things we're seeing that are brought from invisibility into a very tangible way that we can now look at them, see them, and realize if indeed we are to have full of life, we must indeed live more graciously and in conscious harmony with the divine. I'm going to turn it right now.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think that that was so wonderful about how Moses literally was the way shower, preparing the way for the next way shower, which was Jesus. And Jesus was very clear about his mission. They say even as a young boy, he knew what he was supposed to do. He came in with wisdom, and he came in to teach us how to love, in essence. To the law Moses gave us, he prepared the way. And then Jesus basically said, to live this in this life, what you have to learn is to love one another, love your neighbor as yourself, and to move forward
and forgiving everyone and everything. And so he became that way sharer that knew what his end was already going to be. He also knew, I believe, that when he made his transition, the only way his message could have circled around the world as it has and touched so many hearts is if he left and then was resurrected again, because that is like us. We die a little sometimes, but we are resurrected in a soul that is incorruptible and is divinely within us. And no matter what is going on around us, we are that incorruptible, infinite soul that is pure love. And so when we go within, as you said, inside and get rid of the distractions outside, every minute, every day, we are being born again into newness and awareness and the wisdom of that God is. And this is just a blip in time for us to deepen and know who we are, the divine love and spirit of the one, the one, the one.
You know, I love also what Reverend Lynn was talking about. First of all, our mutual teacher was Dr. Tom Johnson, and he held court, sometimes literally. We were so enraptured by him and bedazzled by him at the West Valley Church of Religious Science in Canoga Park. However, the other thing that I loved was the reference to Joseph Campbell about the cross. And I like to think of it from not only that perspective, but from the vantage point that the vertical line is that which connects us to the infinite above the ceiling of the sky that we see and beneath the very ground that supports all of us as we presently are right now in walking, sitting, and doing whatever we're doing. That's the divine. And yet what we do with it is our expression to whatever depth or degree. You know, not everybody gives the full infinite vertical nor the full horizontal, but every moment of our lives are really designed to be more attentive and living in the present and more consciously aware that our true identity and heritage is divine. We are created out of the mind of God, out of the very heart and soul of this universe. Remember Desiderata, you know, you are the universe. Everything that is pulsating and what we take awe and wonder from observing around us is sometimes hard to grasp that the very components and elements of that are within us. We are the stars. We are the moon and the sun. And to the degree that we can take that divine essence and capture it within our very soul and being and embody and live it and trust it in public. I have an idea that we do very well privately in sharing these ideas in the quote unquote higher consciousness community, the metaphysical sense of life. And yet publicly, I'm not quite sure that I, or perhaps some of all of us, are quite that articulate in the sense that it's required now to know the truth, which opens up things we were not aware of years ago, everything, be it about racial injustice or now the anti-Asian evidence of hatred and divisiveness and fear are forever in that subtle resting place of dormancy until something like everything shows up to capture our attention, to bring us totally with that. You know, there's a method of teaching in one of the Eastern Buddhist camps, and it's called crazy wisdom. And their teacher, their guru, whose name I don't have at the moment, but the way that he would teach, he would have all of his disciples gather. And of course, he would teach verbally, but then if he saw or felt or heard there was not an appropriate acceptance or understanding of these spiritual principles, he would take sticks and knock the students over the head. So literally, that's our 2x4 that life is showing us with the pandemic and with the results of the election and what's presently happening now. And again, that looming caveat that people don't take off your masks right now. Don't go out there and party pretending that life is as it was, because it was never the way it could have been anyway. So what's the point in wanting to recapture and keep that? And so the Christ came and knew that it was his part to fulfill the law. Yes, here's what you got to do. Life demands practicality and rationality and clear thinking. And yet, what happened to the soul that longs to see art and music? Thank you, Daniel. Everything about that intuitive sense of beauty and truth. Truth is beauty and beauty is truth. What more is there to say? And yet, worrying and wondering. And so the Christ had great influences in that capturing of his own kingdom of God within. And so what about the queendom within? The masculinity and the femininity, the divinity and the humanity, and bring it into oneness, which is why we're here. What do you think about Mary Magdalene? Reverend?
Oh, I think she was totally unconditional love. But I also want to go back to the cross. It is not only the connection with the divine, but the crossbar is where the heart is. And that's what also represents Jesus and the love that he brought. And I'd rather hear what you think about Mary Magdalene. I think that as we know that many of the scriptures were not interpreted the way they were meant to be, the Aramaic. And so what do you think about Mary Magdalene?
Well,
but I do believe that was that other part of Jesus that had that feminine part open, that she was a symbolic way of saying the feminine and the masculine together in the oneness brings the wholeness all together. And that's what we're here, is to know the Christ consciousness, which is the yin, the yang, the up, the down, the north, the south, the east, the west. So tell me what you think.
So as the story goes from Luke in the New Testament, Jesus and the gang were coming to a village, and he was very close. Jesus was on very close and friendly terms with Lazarus, who he had raised from the dead as a prelude to the resurrection, really, in consciousness. That was a developmental stage. And he goes to visit Lazarus at home, and Lazarus has two sisters, Mary and Martha, Mary being Mary of Magdalene. Now, they have different lifestyles. Martha's kind of the straight and narrow, sweeping the house, cooking the food, taking care of practical matters of everyday living. And Mary, at that point, she was a whore. She was a prostitute. She had other things going on. She was beautiful, loved life, and loved being loved by life in the manner that she chose to be. And so he starts teaching Jesus, and he's sitting down, and Mary is drawn to sit absolutely transfixed at his feet, while Martha is busy sweeping, cooking, taking care of things, and she becomes kind of irate and says, "Why are you sitting there? And Jesus, why are you letting her do that when I'm doing all the work? I'm preparing everything for us in the world of eating and drinking and business." And so from that point on, she became a disciple of his and traveled with him, very unnoted in many parts of the scripture, but she was a follower. And so she brought that love that had experienced passion in the physical sense. So everything physical that personifies love. We love our dogs, we love sex, we love power, we love money, all in that tangible way, is simply evidence that love exists. And it must exist within all of us to the degree that we allow those physicalities of love to be demonstrated, and yet trace it back, take it into the origin. Where did it come from? It has to live in me. I have to be that love to experience that love, or even identify it as love, as passion, as kindness, as the impulse to give. And so what happened from that point on, Mary and the other Marys, there are other Marys, there were said to be three of them, his mother, and then this mysterious someone else, and Mary of Magdalene. They were at the crucifixion, and they waited at the tomb and were the first witnesses to the resurrection of the Christ. So what happened on the cross, if you're looking again from the consciousness of that which is metaphysical, beyond the story or the myth or the archetype? It's the fact that we give up that physicality, that sense of mortality and the physical death, that life is over when we move to a new realm, that everything that we can see, taste, feel, and touch is what life is about. And once that ends at some point chronologically, which it will for all of us, then there's nothing more. That's not quite the way it goes. That which resurrection is the rising of that which took us as far as we've gone, and then takes us to the next realm. That is consciousness, the Christ consciousness, which came out of the tomb of darkness as light for all to share. And that those women, the feminine aspect of love, were the personification of what was happening that many couldn't reconcile, other than to see it as a purely physical event that actually occurred.
You know, speaking of, all of us are passionate beings. I think we're all men, women, animals, even, you know, everything has passion in it, that breath of inspiration in it that wants it to burst forth in greater ways. And are you aware that with the DNA, like 23andMe and Ancestry, they're tracing people not only back to Moses, but to Jesus. So he was, I don't think he was barren, nor was he, totally like a monk either. And so when we go back and we see the traces of all of this and how what we are has still comes forth in that passion of who we are and that wanting to know more, I'm going to go and I'm going to close right now with the 7 phrases with all of this. And when we're talking about the femininity and the love, of course, he died, he came in to show love. He died in that position where the holy meets the divine in the middle, where the heart is. And he left that message of, you know, do unto others as you would like be done unto you. But I'm just going to briefly say the 7 phrases. And he looked down to Mother Mary and said, "Woman, behold your son." And that is also very indicative of my mother. The love of who you are is the love of who I am right here and right now, and forgive them, they know not what they do. And he said to all the crowd that was around him, or the few people that were around him at that point, "You will be with me in paradise." He is affirming there is that life after I leave. My God, instead of the Christian King's James version of "Why have thou forsaken me" in his own language, what he actually said is, my God, this is my destiny. This is why I came. It is finished, he said. And he said, I'm into my Father's hands. I commend my spirit. It was all planned in his mind. He was that saint, I believe, that came in with all that wisdom, all that love, all that passion. And so all of this is important when we think that every time each of us will die one way or another, and it's better to take in all the wisdom, all the love, and come from that. As not only did that, I loved a lot of what Rev Lynn said and Danny's song. That was a composer that was centuries old, that is still giving us that joy and what we are here to do. So I think that what I'm going to bring this to, and then I'm going to let you close not only with your words of wisdom, but I hope a treatment on this Easter morning, is that while we're here, take that message of Easter and transcend that which is no longer serving us, letting go of all that has kept us playing small. Live every day, every moment in the present, knowing that we're all going to make our transition. We all know, I believe, that the soul is incorruptible, that we are infinite, and it's very important every moment on this planet to be not even just the words, the wisdom of the words, but to be the love, the wisdom, the caring, because that is what carries it. It's not words that people always listen to. It is the beingness when you're with someone that connects with the beingness within you, that it rises up within you as Jesus rose up in that consciousness. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Dr. Sue.
Reverend Pam. You know, just a note also that everyone is very much familiar with the 3 days in the tomb following the crucifixion and between the resurrection. What happened in that second day? Nobody talks about that. So I have a suspicion that just like everything else is the trinity of life, the triune nature of mind, body, and soul, there was that which had already passed from its former life and yet was not yet fully developed enough in consciousness to form in physicality. And that was the time of gestation, that second day in the tomb. That was the time of reassessing, and the formless was taking its own formless form in order to rise, dying to the old and arising and brilliantly showing the dawning of a new aspect of our nature, which is for all of us to do. So at this point, I would ask myself and all of us, what is it that really is the deepest impulse and the strongest soul longing to really call over as a completed experience? He had fulfilled, Jesus, the man, had shown his divinity through all the healings and teachings, had instilled within the disciples enough where they were now equipped to become apostles, just as we are. This is our age of human apostle rising. We've listened, we've learned, we've studied, we read the books and attend the webinars and fill ourselves like the sponge. And yet this is the moment to squeeze it and to say, now let me be a teacher unto myself, unto the world, by sharing that which I am, every quality that I identify as God, as infinite good, love, spontaneity, creativity, infinite potential, joy, peace, harmony, a rational thinking, clear, all-knowing mind, all of that and so much more abides within myself and all. So that's our Easter morning, and that's our leaving Passover this year with a greater and deeper commitment to be that which we are all created to be, that which is the manifestation of spirit, divine incarnations of the infinite. And with that, I invite everyone to proclaim that by this knowing, which is spoken in the I Am, which is the divine nature, the Christ consciousness that is within and through and as all, as everything that is God, divine, infinite mind, universal intelligence, spirit, light, love, law, unfolding according to my perception of who I am and what gifts I bring unto life. And so I consider all of the great prophets and teachers and saints and scholars, and I realize this is my legacy. I have stood upon those shoulders and so many more, contemporary as well as those in different dimensions of life. And yet now, what am I offering that as I go forward, dying to the old and rebirthing and resurrecting into a new way of life and living and understanding, let me be the shoulders that are now ready to be stood upon by others as life continues in its perpetuating of its own essence and nature. Let there be life, and let it be ever more fully and richly understood, accepted, identified with, and lived as that divine emanation of infinite godly good. And so I go forth this Easter and this Passover with a deep and holy, devoted covenant with the divine nature of myself to bring forth out of the tomb of deadness everything that is still longing, yearning to be brought to life, and consciously by means of me, by means of all. And with this in mind, heart, soul, and embodiment, I give thanks, submitting it unto the law, which shows me, teaches me, and brings forth through me everything that contributes to my awakened Christ consciousness and Moses' clarity of letting love point the way and the law make the way possible. And for this and so much more than words can express, I give thanks, knowing it is already, has always been, and forever remains the truth of being, and so it is.
And so it is. And now, with that glory and those beautiful closing words and the story woven together from the beginning of Moses all the way through the crucifixion and the rising up, let us rise up again in glory when we listen to Danny. Danny, thank you so much. Thank you for bringing all of this, all of you, just the weaving together of the wonderful resurrection and joy that we came to experience on this planet. Now it is my honor to introduce Reverend Lynn Chaplain Noe.
Well, thank you, ma'am. And it's my honor to share this offertory with you, an opportunity to say these sacred words while we consider or donate to the church. If we were alive together in the center, we'd be holding our offering on our hearts. So let's just hold that knowledge that we'll all be together soon in our hearts as we say this together. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. And that's the way it is. And there are many ways of contributing to our center. And we thank you so much for watching our service today, especially the Easter service. If you feel like you've received value from this experience, please support our ministry with a tax-deductible donation. And you can visit our website at www.csl-pleasantvalley.org. We accept PayPal and Zelle. And we are so grateful that you've chosen to join us today. And there are a lot of other ways to contribute to us. Old snail mail, remember that? And you can mail your offering to us at CSL Pleasant Valley, 221 East Daly Drive, Suite number 1, Camarillo, California, 93010. And of course, our website again is www.csl-pleasantvalley.org. And our email, and you know I always say this, we want to stay connected with you. So you can email us and ask for treatment, a dialogue with the ministers and the practitioners. We have wonderful practitioners. And that email is cslpleasantvalley@gmail.com. And thank you so much again. And someone's going to pray us out, aren't they?
Yes, it is
Pamela Bailey.
Yes.
Yes, and thank you very much, everyone. What a wonderful service. So yes, let's just take a moment and get quiet and in that prayerful mode. And I will be speaking in that first person. And I am just here in great gratitude for all of life. And I know that all of life is God, and that God is all of those things in life that are so precious. Our lives, our loved ones, our intelligence, our health and healing, and our possibilities of a greater future. Those are all part of God, and I am part of all of those. And so in this place, in this holy celebration today of particularly of the Easter and also of Passover, all of it being about life and about death and about transformation and resurrection, and knowing that it is all part of that whole cycle of being born and living and dying and not knowing exactly what's next, but perhaps doing it again, but continuing on living in whatever form that is, just knowing that life is eternal and life is blessed this moment and every moment. And in this service today, of all of the stories and the meanings and the mythologies and all of the things that we looked at, it is so holy and it is so much a part of the story of life that we have. And knowing that this is the time of transformation, that from the death to the resurrection, from the Passover to the flight into the promised land, this is the result of that transformation. And what has been is still carried along, but yet living a new life, living that new life of having been resurrected, that new life of having left slavery and bondage, and living a new life right here and right now as our highest and best. This moment, I have a choice, and I get to choose how I express this precious gift of life. And I pray to express in the highest, most loving, wisest, and very best way. And I am just so grateful for all of the people who've been part of this service and for the occasion of this day, this holy day that we've come together to celebrate. And I am just grateful that each day, each moment, I have that divine right to live and to choose. And again, in great gratitude, I release this treatment, knowing all is well, and together we say, and so it is.
And thank you so much, Pamela. And we're closing with the song Love is My Decision by Daniel Nahmod. Perfect for today.
Yeah.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. My decision, right here and now.
You're going to have a
Thank you so
great
much.
adventure. It's going to be great.
Okay.
Oh, goodbye, everybody. Happy Easter, and many more to follow. As we know, we're immortal, so that'll so. Thank you, Dr. Sue. Thank you, Daniel Berkman. Thank you, Spencer Geagan behind the scenes, Buzz Noe, Lynn Chaplin Noe, Pamela Bailey, Marcia Beebe behind the scenes, and Ivan Korlinski. I love each and every one of you. Love is my decision. Mwah! Have a blessed, wonderful Easter Sunday.